All right, everybody. Welcome. Jordan's already on it.
I've already on it.
This is the Heart is the Muscle podcast, and boom, boom. This is the beginning of season 4.
Quattro.
Quattro. What are we going to talk about in this first episode in season 4, Jordan?
We talk about what season 4 is going to be all about, and then we talk about our story, how we met, just so everybody can get kind of up to date on that. Yep. And then we get into some really good shit around loneliness and relationships. So many people are feeling lonely in a relationship. We had a moment not too long ago where we were realizing how lonely we were feeling. We get vulnerable about that. Good shit.
Yep. So stay to the end because Jordan's got not 1, not 2, but like 5 extra things to share.
Yeah, we kept closing it. And I was like, wait, no, one more.
So watch all the way to the end, and we will see you there.
See you at the end.
All right, everybody. It is time to kick off a new season of the Heart is a Muscle podcast.
New season, who dis?
New season. So we're on location here out in the chilly winter because apparently winter's still here.
In California.
Yeah, we thought California, it was sunny down here, but now it's just the frigid south.
The frigid south. Yeah, it's been so funny. It's been like kind of rainy down here, and everybody's talking about unsafe weather conditions and shit like that. Right. We're like, guys, it's just rainy.
There we go.
It feels good to feel so superior, doesn't it?
I mean, that's every day for me. Just kidding, everybody. So, this is the Heart is a Muscle podcast. You have tuned into the right place. Don't adjust your screen because you're watching us. And we're here to help you with your relationships, but we are so excited because now season 4 has arrived and we are doing this.
Oh yeah, I guess we need to explain that, like when we say we're in the frigid cold and that kind of stuff, it's because we have a YouTube channel, y'all. Right. If you're listening on Spotify, if you're listening to the podcast, we are recording this with our faces on our YouTube channel. The link to that YouTube channel is on our Patreon.
So if you have not gone to our Patreon and pledged your support for $5, then you should go there right away because season 4 is where we're really going to turn it up. We're going live on YouTube. We're going live on Spotify. We're going live everywhere because we want to bring this to the masses.
Yeah.
We've heard too much good feedback of people fixing their relationships with the Heart is a Muscle podcast. So we just got to spread the word.
Yep, that's right. And you don't have to like join Patreon to watch us on YouTube. I'm just saying that's where the link is. So go to patreon.com/theheartisamuscle. That's where you will find all of our links. That's also where you're going to find links to follow us, links to work with us, links to our book, all that kind of good shit. It's on our Patreon.
All kinds of good shit.
Yep.
So season 4 is underway. What happened during season 3?
Season 3 was a hot mess.
Yeah. Well, the podcast wasn't a hot mess,
no,
but we were.
But we were.
The podcast was pretty crystal.
Yeah, I think we had some great episodes in season 3, actually, I will say. But yeah, I saw something on Instagram too that's like, you're not a hot mess, you're a spicy disaster.
Well, like all of us humans trying to make it in this world, relationship stuff happened, business stuff happened. Man, so much stuff happened, and
we fucking moved in the middle of season 3, didn't we? Or did we start season 3 when we got here?
I think season 3 was when we moved down.
Yeah.
So you've been with us for the first chapter of our big move.
Yep.
And what was going on? Oh, your Saturn return is coming.
Oh, it's coming to an end. Fucking finally, you guys.
Tell everyone about the Saturn return.
The Saturn return. So, Saturn is in, like, when you're born. Saturn is in the certain. I gotta not like watch myself as I'm doing this, but anyway, okay. Saturn is in a place in the sky when you are born. And then when you are around like 29 or 30, Saturn goes all the way around and returns to that same place in the sky. Saturn is the planet of you're going to grow up now.
Mm-hmm. Saturn's your daddy.
Saturn's your daddy.
He's about to throw you in the lake and teach you how to swim.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So like very often people experience like significant blow-ups in their lives, transitions in their lives during their Saturn return, because it's meant to separate you from everything that is no longer serving you and get you oriented toward the path that you're going to be spending the rest of your life on. And get you oriented toward your own power. And it's like not always kind in the ways that it shows you your
Big Daddy Saturn is. He's not kind.
Yeah.
You want to change your life?
No, it's like I'm gonna change it for you. See how you do. Yeah, during my Saturn return, right before it, I quit my job. 6 months after that, got a divorce. Well, my marriage fell apart, and then 6 months after that, my divorce was finalized. That's kind of really.
You didn't have the Hardest Muscle podcast to listen to fix that shit, right?
Yeah, I didn't. Well, yeah, I know. Yeah. There's no way. Maybe there's something fourth dimensional about that. I can travel.
Oh, absolutely. Time, yeah, if you could take this podcast and give it to your past self when your marriage was.
I don't know. I think
it would self-delete, because then we wouldn't meet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think I made the best decision.
Yeah. So marriage. Time travel wise, the Hardest Muscle podcast is not going to help you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So
but future wise,
well,
it really is going to help you.
Yes. So yeah, got a divorce. Then fucking the pandemic happened. Between my divorce,
that happened in between that too, right?
You?
Yeah, me.
Yeah, of course. I met Josef. Maybe we should go over our story again at some point.
Yeah, let's go over our story to start season 4.
Yeah, okay, let's give them like the brief version of that. Because if they want the long version, I think we went off for 2 episodes about it. But I've been married before. It was a 7-year relationship. Found out he had been cheating on me most of our marriage. I still don't even know the full extent of that, because I just accepted that I will never know. So got a divorce. There's so much nuance that I can go into about that. It wasn't because he cheated that I got a divorce, but that just kind of
played its role.
Yep, that's played its role. Got a divorce. Saw this sexy guy in my Toastmasters class.
I have never been married. Came close a few times, but realized that was a terrible decision. And so my prior story to Toastmasters where we met was I was fancy free. I don't know exactly the period of time, but I think it was about 2 or 3 years of spreading my wild oats.
Gentleman of fortune,
extremely. I served nobody but myself, and it had its ups and downs. But then joined Toastmasters, and
is Zoom using the right mic?
Yeah,
okay.
It is.
Okay, cool.
Trust me, the studio is prime. That's another thing for season 4. We've gone through a couple of studios here with the Hardest Muscle podcast, but season 4 studio. We'll have to put up some stuff on the Patreon, because
we should nice. Some behind the scenes so they can see us. Yeah, this is a green screen behind us.
No, it's not. We are literally on a frozen lake right now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's so chills.
So Toastmasters.
Yeah, so I had joined Toastmasters about 3 months before I knew I was gonna get a divorce, because I wasn't sure. And so Josef was in Toastmasters, and I was like, man, do not keep imagining him without a shirt on, Jordin. Like, get your shit together. We don't know what we're going to do yet. But then so I was like pretty cold to you.
You were very, very like not interested. You definitely were throwing out that vibe of,
I also wasn't wearing my ring.
No, either. See, that was the thing. Back in those days, that was the first thing when I saw someone attractive. I would check to see if they had a ring, and you did not.
I did not.
But I figured you had probably a boyfriend or a relationship, because you did not show any interest. And I was like, well, we'll see about this. This one might take a little while, but it was well worth it, because I remember the first time you walked in, I was just like, whoa, who is that? It's one of those things when you start something new and you're like, maybe this will be the place that I'll meet someone really great. And then it turns out to be true. And you're like, oh, wow, there's that really great person I've been like kind of hoping and wishing would come along. It took a few months of
well, because I just decided within myself I was not going to get anybody else involved until I decided what I wanted to do. Yeah, because I wanted to decide because it was something like that I wanted, not because I had feelings for somebody else or whatever. So yeah, then once I decided, what did I do?
Well, it started very casually, where you actually like made contact with me, and during Toastmasters you give speeches, and then everyone claps a lot, and they write you little notes and critiques on these little baby sheets of paper. And I don't think you had ever written anything for me, but you wrote a little thing that said "fantastic job"
with the smiley face,
with a little smiley face, and I was like, all right, it's on. There's signs of life here.
And you had that up on your desk, didn't you?
I pasted that. Yeah, the place I was working, I pasted that right on the bottom of my monitor, so I saw it all the time. So I was like,
oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
I think we still have that somewhere.
We do somewhere. And it didn't take long from that they had to like elect officials for the club.
Oh, God, I got roped into that shit.
So you joined as an official, so I was like, perhaps I will also become an official in some manner, and that way I can get more time to be close to you and work my magic. And it didn't take long. I think it was like a couple weeks after that we had our summer get together with the club, and you had been showing signs of life and being a little bit more friendly, and you sat next to me a few times and we had exchanged some casual words. Yeah.
I think you let me borrow your pen once or twice.
Of course I did. But yeah, in my mind I was like, all right, this is progressing very steadily. We'll give it a couple more weeks, and then maybe I'll ask her out just to see. Didn't want to rush it. And at our company picnic, which was, a speech club's picnic, but we were chatting it up and having a good time, and then you pieced out, and I had actually something that I was going to be doing later in the evening. So I think
I didn't piece out on that one. As far as I was concerned, I thought we had already made plans to grab a drink afterwards.
Yeah. But when you left and I left, and then it was like, let's go get a drink.
Well, yeah, I asked you if you wanted to get a drink at McMenamins. Oh, McMenamins.
Yeah, so went to the local watering hole and started to have a pretty great little date.
It was easy.
It was super easy and
super fun.
And fun, just like really open and actually pretty vulnerable to start with.
Well, yeah, it was me.
Yeah. And then as we were kind of wrapping things up, you put your offer on the table.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna be straight up about this. I'm not gonna try to hide anything. I was like, look, I'm going through a divorce right now. I'm just looking to have a good time. Like, if you want to Netflix and chill sometime. Or then we talked about your bike. I was like,
yeah, I had a motorcycle at the time. Yeah.
I still remember the first time I wrapped my arms around you on your motorcycle and felt your abs. I was like, oh my God. It was like my sweet woman, my body had such like a visceral response to that.
Yeah, that was magic. That was the next day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was the next day.
That was the next day.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because you had something to do. I thought for sure we were gonna fuck that night. I was like, nobody is gonna like turn me down. You're like, I have plans. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I know. I guess you did.
I was being very honest with you. I was just like, well, I had not expected this in the least, and especially not this like grand proposal. And I really was at a point where I was like, man, am I making a mistake? And I was like, well, I've chosen to be honest with people these days, and so I'm going to be honest with this person and see where it leads me. And I think
I thought it was actually low-key sexy.
Well, yeah, I mean,
that you kept to your commitments. I was like, oh, he's like that. All right, okay, making me wait for it.
But I think it was not like 5 or 10 minutes after I jumped in my car and gotten into a way that I was like texting you like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm free tomorrow. Like, why don't I pick you up? Why don't you come over and we'll go for a motorcycle ride?
Yep. So that's what I did.
Yeah, and that was awesome. I think you came around noon. It was a beautiful sunny day and pulled the bike out, and there you were. And man, you were looking good in like these little Daisy Duke shorts and a little crop top, all snazzed up. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. And like the rest is history here.
The rest is very history. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we met, everybody. Welcome to season 4.
And in between then and now, we have discovered probably the best tools and tricks and methodologies to make relationships last, because man, this one's going all the way.
God, again and again and again.
Yeah. And it's still really awesome. Like it just keeps
getting better. I don't know how. I didn't know it could be like that. Yeah. I didn't know it could be like this, but it does just keep getting better.
And like we sometimes watch our own podcast episodes and we're like, that was really good advice. Yeah. We should do that.
Yeah. And like, this is, to me, like the advice part is the boring part. I care about giving people advice, I guess, but like what I'm more interested in is showing y'all behind the fucking scenes of when we have vulnerable conversations, because I feel like that is where a lot of the value of this podcast is.
Well, that's our 3 main accolades are that it's raw, it's real, and it's relatable, because this is real life here, people. And we're going to talk about some actual shit today. We're not just going to reminisce and wax poetic on where we've been and how far we've come.
That was pretty fun, though.
Oh, it is always fun. It's always good to start off a new season with kind of how far you come, because season 3
so far.
Man, season 3 got into some advanced stuff.
The divine feminine mirror.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. We'll be covering a lot of that stuff again, because as we grow and as we are expanding the platform here, we need to make sure everyone can get a bite. So you can check out season 3, just the audio, on Spotify.
Yeah.
There's lots of good stuff there. But let's get into today's topic, which may seem like a real left-hand turn bummer, but is a very, very important thing, and something that we have been going through in the past 2 weeks almost.
Yeah, pretty significantly.
And that is loneliness in relationships.
Yeah, it's something that's not really talked about that much in relationships. Because I'm willing to bet most people in relationships feel some element of loneliness as well. Because there are certain things in life that you just have to face alone too. That is like part of your healing journey or your growth journey or your hero's journey. Is there are some dragons that like you got to face alone, and that's how you build your confidence. But we can forget that in relationships, and we can just get so used to the day-to-day or the status quo that we don't even realize how lonely we're feeling or how lonely our partner might be feeling.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that can really create connection between people, is when you take the time to really appreciate if your partner is in a lonely place. Because like you said, the day-to-day, you're doing your thing, you're getting your routines, you're high-fiving each other in the hallways you pass by, and that's about all the interaction.
Slapping each other's butts,
slapping each other in the ass every once in a while, brushing your teeth next to each other, sleeping next to each other. But a lot of the times we can kind of, after a while in relationship, get really stuck in our routines and forget the small things that keep you connected, and it can get lonely. And unfortunately, it happens really kind of slowly and invasively and subtly. And if you don't kind of keep track of that, then you become just these kind of you can become roommates, basically. Like one of the things that I think most people start to recognize first when like loneliness creeps into a relationship is that your sex life kind of dries up. And you're like, why aren't we having sex? And it's like, well, because I don't even know who you are anymore.
Yeah. And I was also gonna say, this is kind of the trifecta of like adding resentment into there too. So if you're starting to feel lonely, or if you're starting to feel resentful, there's probably an element where you're feeling lonely in the relationship as well.
So the early warning signs, this is like some advice. If you see these signs in your partner,
brochure.
Yeah. Here's our pamphlet on loneliness in relationship. If you see these warning signs, talk to your Hard as a Muscle podcaster.
Host.
We are both. But yeah, sex life kind of drying up is one of those things. And really what that is the like sexual polar magnetism between you is evaporating, because you're kind of focusing your energies, even your masculine and feminine energies, just in opposite directions. You're not turning those magnets toward each other anymore.
Oh, that's a great way of putting it.
I know. Masculine and feminine polarity, like relationships right there. That's one place to start.
All you need to know.
That's all you need to know. We're done. But sex life drying up, that can be one thing. And to broker that conversation again of like, hey, how come we're not having sex anymore? You need to come with a lot of compassion and not a lot of judgment and like accusations of like, what the fuck? What's wrong with you? Why aren't you doing your duty? Yeah, why are you so like barren?
Why are you frigid all of a sudden? Yeah. Oh man.
Frigid. But sometimes you have to ask that question of, and we even get to that point sometimes where, an episode we had where we called it being in doo-doo mode, where you're just like going. That can be another thing that leads to loneliness. And where you can just kind of ask that question of like, hey, we haven't had sex in like a week and some change. Like, is everything okay? Are you in doo-doo mode, or are you?
Am I in doo-doo mode?
Am I in doo-doo mode? So yes, early warning sign number 1, sex life getting dry. What's early warning sign number 2?
You're starting to feel resentment.
Resentment is growing. And like resentment is one of those things that you have to reflect on in yourself of, am I feeling resentful towards my partner because whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, but if you're feeling that, those, like, for men especially, it's kind of these fantasies of like, oh, the grass is greener if I was doing this, or maybe I should kind of cut and run because then I'd be free and be able to do whatever I want. So when those
women have those too.
Yeah. There you go. If resentment, early warning sign number 2, don't ignore it.
Yeah. Okay. And I think I like what you mentioned too, is like when you have fantasies of like getting out or cutting and running or whatever, that's also a sign of loneliness.
Yes.
Because resentment to me is more like criticizing your partner, like in your head, but like, oh, I can't say anything, so I'll just keep this to myself. It's kind of like brooding about the things that your partner isn't doing right.
Yeah, when you start to notice like tiny things that to anybody else wouldn't matter, but they start to really drive you up the wall, that's a layer lower of an early warning sign of resentment. Nitpicking the shit out of each other. So, but yes, you're correct. Warning sign number 3 is fantasizing about some whack like alternate universe.
And I mean, not that all fantasy is wrong. I think like that's just going to be a part of every relationship at some point. That's just a part of our parts being human, but
like, speaking for my own past experience, this is where I catch myself in this, where you're creating this like fantasy world that honestly, when you take a step back and you're just like, none of that would actually happen. Like, because you kind of start to create this fantasy around like what you want your life to be and all the things you're going to do and like the person you're going to be, and then you're going to like go out and whatever, score with chicks or something like that. And like you step back and you're like, nah, that would never happen. And like that wouldn't be that fun. But yes, fantasizing about alternate realities, early warning sign number 3. Any other good early warning
for
signs?
loneliness? Kind of when the relationship starts to feel exhausting.
Yeah.
I would say. Or yeah, like where you just feel extra exhausted in the relationship.
Yeah, where to me that really comes through when like the relationship of like interacting with someone becomes really exhausting.
Yeah.
Or like
Or like super unfulfilling. Like it just makes you feel worse. Like when you feel worse when you're like talking with your partner about something than when you keep it to yourself, that's a sign that there's some loneliness in there, that some need isn't being met. All of these, by the way, like may or may not equal loneliness for you, but there probably is an unmet need for you that's not being met if you're feeling this.
Yeah. We'll cut it there. So sex life going dry.
We should have a whole other episode on fantasies and stuff too, because I want to talk about our heart center, how we have salvation fantasies of like the perfect person coming to save us too. So, but that's a whole other episode. So teasing
coming soon on season 4.
Yeah.
But yeah, sex life going dry, resentment growing, fantasies are brewing, and then yeah, just exhaustion of being in the same space with someone.
Yeah. Well, and like maybe we can also give a practical example of what we were going through, and we can, and I'd like to ask you like more of what you were feeling during that time, but I'd kind of like to share my epiphany that I had.
All right.
About kind of how all of this started. Well, first of all, I finally fucking figured it out. My 3 parts, my Enneagram type 3 parts, which are like my achieving parts, my very competent parts, finally figured out that relationships matter more than anything else. And that's
why we're here.
Yeah. And that we like can't do this shit alone, and that we need each other's. And God damn, I like, it's crazy. I had been living my whole life mostly viewing relationships just based on like what I got out of them or what I could get out of them. And like if they were feeling like dead weight or something, I would just like leave. And that also, there's shit with trauma and dad stuff there too, because there's relationships that I legit had to just leave. And yeah. But anyway, now I'm just realizing my 3 parts are like, oh damn, like relationships matter more than efficiency. Wow. Yes. Yeah, they do.
Yes.
And so it made me like really kind of put myself in your shoes more, because you've been having a hard time with at your job and stuff. Like it's been a particularly hard time lately. And it's not that I wasn't like listening to you or wasn't like there for you or we weren't talking about it often, but like I just didn't really like fully put myself in your shoes. And then when I did, I was like, man, he's got to be lonely. He's got to be feeling really lonely. And so I remember I came and I asked you if you were feeling lonely, and you were like it's not like something you were like, yeah, I'm feeling lonely, but you were like thinking about it.
About time you fucking mentioned it.
Yeah. But you were like, yeah, you know what? Like I am feeling lonely. This is lonely.
Yeah, I mean, loneliness can sometimes be kind of tricky to identify from a male perspective too. Often like we're taught that like you're not allowed to be lonely. That just doesn't compute. If you're lonely,
you're supposed to be alone.
Yeah,
you're supposed to be the lone wolf.
You're supposed to like be totally fine in solitude. Yeah, that's a bunch of horseshit. And so it can be hard to recognize loneliness because it gets conflated with like, oh, there's some like problem I have to solve here. There's some thing that I need to adjust, or there's something I need to fix, when really it's more just the awareness of there's something that's not quite in alignment. Because a lot of the times this is where the feminine can super help the masculine, because the masculine can just be looking around for like the fucking problem. They're like, where is this fucking problem? And the feminine can say, hey, like, why don't you come back over here and let's figure out what's wrong first before you start looking to like solve the problem.
Oh, damn.
Like, you don't even know what the problem is.
Good.
You're looking for it, but like, you know,
you don't even know what you're looking for.
You're looking in this like bag of marbles over here, and you don't even know which marble you're looking for. And yeah, so when you asked me, was I lonely? There was this kind of overwhelming truth that came forward where it was just like, yeah, you know what? That is the right word. That is the right word. And for me, you know, relationships expand or extend beyond just romantic relationships. And for me, it was a lot of, work relationships, my relationship to my work, the things that I do for a living, the people that I work with. And I was able to really let a lot of that start to churn and process. And it was good because it didn't solve the problem, but it definitely brought awareness to like, yep, this is the thing that I need to focus on being with for a while. And letting it stir.
And like since then, I mean, that was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been about maybe 2 weeks.
A month. Okay, yeah. Since then, like my parts have just been showing, my parts have been realizing, oh shit, like how we can help him is like literally doing more, like taking stuff off of his plate that we can. So like I've been doing more of the dishes since then. Like I've just been like trying to help more in the way that like speaks your language. Speaks the language for your parts to like physically let them know that I am here, like that I care, that I see you, that I care, that I'm trying to make this easier for you best I can. And it's not like I mean, and it felt like, it felt like this was an expression of just my true genuine heart, not like codependency, not like I'm not okay unless he's okay and I need to like help him be okay. It was like, no, I'm perfectly fine with you being like feeling exactly how you feel, and you can feel that as long as you need to or as long as you do, but I just want to meet you in that. So it was like, it felt really cool to kind of uncouple that from my codependency, because I think parts of me before were like, no, that's codependent, like he can handle his own stuff. And so it was like, oh, okay, this is the middle way. You know, I just want to show up for him and give extra of my energy to him just because like, God damn, he's got to feel lonely. And like, I just want him to know that he's not alone in this any more than he has to be. And so since then, your parts have been letting me in more. Like you've been sharing some like deep stuff with me. And like when you're feeling what you feel, like you talk about it usually, or and it's been so fruitful. It's like, I'm so glad that you did. And then here we are like a couple weeks later, kind of on the other side of something big, you know, like that moment when I asked you when you felt lonely, like you have been working through that. And we have been working through that until now. And like, there's more stuff to work through because you're still working at your job and stuff, but like it does seem like you've come to a new understanding, or you've moved forward in some way in the inner world.
Well, there's this is part of where for the masculine too, a lot of the times having this reflected back allows you, when you have the tools to look on the inner world and see what's going on, make some sense of this. I've also been seeking a lot of advice and information, and really just sharing a lot of these experiences with my mentors as well. And it's good because it shows that you have support. And when that's kind of the cure to loneliness, is when you start to feel support from other people.
Yes. Oh, isn't that so true? Yeah.
Because then you can see like, no, I'm not on my own here. Like I am the one who's on the journey, but there are other people who are invested in me being successful and want to help me be successful. And the advice that they give really helps to reorient all that kind of clutter and chaos that's going on in the inner world, to keep moving you forward, even if you're still stuck in it. I mean, we have made a lot of progress in the things that we're working on. This podcast is one of them.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still plenty of like room to go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're only on the 40-yard line right now.
Yeah, but more than ever, I feel like we are in this like together.
Yeah, that's the thing where when you start to connect back again from being in a place of loneliness or being kind of disconnected, man, it puts another like candy coating layer on your relationship in general and just strengthens that bond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And something just popped into my head, so I'll share it too. Maybe I'll just talk about the salvation fantasy on this episode because this kind of ties right into it. But like, I couldn't connect with you like this if my parts still needed you to be my savior.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like if my parts were still dead set on, if I can just find the perfect man that, that can meet all these parts' needs and like won't require any extra energy from me, basically, then I'll be all right. And so for actually a lot of our relationship, I was judging you against that. Like I needed you to be that. I needed you to be not human.
Mm-hmm.
I needed you to be like my salvation fantasy. So like here's the salvation fantasy thing. In our trauma, when trauma happens to us, our parts kind of bifurcate. So they go into, there's a part of us that is experiencing the trauma and that are protecting us from the trauma, all of that kind of stuff. And then there's another side of it where there are parts of us that have the salvation fantasy of the opposite of our trauma happening. Mm-hmm. And so these parts are like, if we can just get the opposite of our trauma and we can have, like you can be the dad that I never got to have. If I just have this partner that sees me all the time, and yeah, basically that is my savior. That's the perfect partner that doesn't require any extra energy from me. Mm-hmm. Then that's what I need. Then I won't have to feel so lonely, that I won't feel so ashamed anymore. Then like that's the ticket out of this. But like the truth is that actually keeps you in your trauma,
because you'll never find that.
You'll never find that. And the origin of that is just as much in your trauma as your pain is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so as that gets healed, I have seen you as a human being more and more, and just like let you be fucking wild ass man, like let you be a separate person from me. Not like you don't have to be anything other than you are for me. Like I just want to be in this with you. Like we are just two humans going through life together best we can. And so like I wouldn't be able to see your loneliness if I was just seeing you for the salvation fantasy that you weren't.
Yeah, your salvation fantasy is not allowed to be lonely.
Yeah.
Or to experience that.
Yeah, well that's just like not even something that my parts would think about. Like my parts would think about criticizing you for, not figuring your shit out already and like getting a direction.
And that helps, that always helps.
To
be criticized for the thing you're struggling with.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And so this is, I remember I tweeted this. I was like, oh, this is such good advice. Next time you want to criticize your partner, instead ask them if they feel lonely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. See where that takes you.
Yeah.
And that might take you in a pretty vulnerable place. So be warned, because vulnerability is going to save us all, but we have to sign up for it.
We have to be courageous enough to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been my loneliness story. Have you been experiencing any loneliness?
Yes, but just because I've moved, and just because well I think like okay, let me think about this.
Okay.
First of all, you've always done a really, really good job of letting me be human.
Yeah.
Yeah, like and like really seeing me as a person, and yeah, that's been really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of
So healing.
I think it's a little bit of the legacy of how I relate to people and how I've been successful in relating to people is like there's just a part of me that perhaps is a little bit of the lonely child in me that wanted someone to just see me. Is it always tries to like kind of see through the shiny exterior or the not so shiny exterior that people have and just see them as like, this is a person.
Oh, you do that.
I do
You
that.
do.
And with the power of parts language makes that even better, because then not only can I see you as a person, but I can see you as a person with all these parts trying to do all this crazy shit for you.
Yeah.
And that's been a really powerful thing for us, because when you're lonely, because you've gone through very lonely phases in the past.
Fuck.
Man, fuck.
You're telling me.
And a lot of the times it's kind of touch and go, where you kind of have to bring in compassion, bring in curiosity, bring in a little bit of like, hey, why don't you share what's going on with me, because it's important for me to know.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times being able to be self-led and not be taken over by your parts, because sometimes when you ask for vulnerability, you get shit you don't want to hear.
Yeah,
or
that's
you get
right.
parts that come forward that are expressing something that's not always kind or nice, but necessary to be spoken. And it's really powerful to be able to hold space for that, mirror that back to you, and see and let you know, like, yeah, parts, like, I hear you, but something different going on out here. Let's bring you back here.
Yeah. Yeah. God, yeah, so many times, especially in our relationship, like I stopped seeing you, I stopped like seeing reality. It's like you just start seeing through the knot holes of your pain, of your trauma. It's like, man, it's
lonely holes.
The lonely holes.
Going on down to the lonely hole.
Yeah, so I think I don't feel this way as much anymore, but I think I was feeling a little bit lonely as well with the stuff that I was struggling with during that time too, or just like since I've moved down here, because you've loved living down here and there are parts of me that just have not. And so I feel that kind of feels lonely. And also I've just had a hard time since moving down here, like for a lot of different reasons. Oh yeah, I was gonna say my Saturn return, I moved 7 times, 2.5 years. I've moved 7 times, like absolutely exhausting. And then this last time I moved states, which is, it almost feels like moving countries a little bit. It's like the culture is so different, but well, it's still on the West Coast at least, but
yeah, thank God.
Yeah. But so I like, there have been parts of me that have just like, whenever I'm struggling with something like really, really deeply, I call them my 9 parts, my Enneagram 9 parts, and they just want to play games on my phone. They want to smoke bowls. They want to like check out, like they barely want to be here. And they just like hijack me, like really take me over. And it's not even necessarily something that I can, because if I really just go to war with them, like that's equally as unhealthy and unhelpful. And so it has been challenging for me to find my middle way with that. And so it was kind of a hard dynamic with us, because like what really helped your parts was when I was able to take more action and like physically help you with more things, like that spoke your language. But like with those 9 parts, like in the way that I check out, like that before I like had the understanding that, oh, you're lonely too, like my 9 parts would not have been able to like even think about doing that, or like that couldn't have been a priority for them. And so like your parts have been carrying, like during that time, so much burden, like with your job and you know, just like time burden and like doing shit that you don't want to do. And I have been kind of stuck in my 9 parts, and so your parts are like, okay, she needs to like start doing shit now, like when is the action gonna happen? And so I think I felt kind of lonely in that, because I have parts that are like, I know it's just like really hard for me right now.
And then again, you know, just like we said, it's great to be criticized for the thing you're struggling with.
Yeah, exactly. And so
I can't tell, that's absolutely 1,000% sarcastic.
Yeah,
don't do that as much as you can.
But honestly, that's probably what most criticism is in relationships, is criticizing the thing that your partner struggles most, is currently struggling with and feeling most lonely in.
I mean,
that's why, by the way, I'm just gonna say this again, like I'll say, we should say this every episode. It is, I think it's really healthy to have a no criticism policy in your relationship.
As much as you can, yeah.
Like we don't criticize each other. Like criticism and resentment are the relationship killers.
Oh man.
Like you can have a relationship where you have hard conversations about the needs you need to get met and all that stuff without criticism. Criticism is totally unnecessary.
Yeah, criticism should be only used as a joke.
Yeah. Except when you call me a bummer.
We'll get into that.
That's in another episode.
Yeah, to kind of go off of that same thing, sometimes you have to be a little bit aware too of, you may be criticizing or like not positively commenting on something that someone's struggling with because you're unaware.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, part of relationship too, is you got to ask those questions, and you got to kind of have that insight of, if someone's if you're expecting someone to be doing something and they're not doing it, it's not because they're, you know, worthless, or they're not trying hard, or they're just a bummer. There's usually a pretty legitimate reason behind it, even if they are not doing it because they don't want to. Like, there's a layer deeper with that. And just criticizing someone is like the least motivating way to motivate someone. Yeah, our policy is also a zero shame relationship here, because as much as everyone's been taught that shame is like the king of motivators, it is actually the worst. Like, you might as well just get out a belt and like slap someone and say like, giddy up. You know, which unfortunately was the way people used to do it too. So human evolution. So yeah, sometimes when you see that your partner is struggling with someone, or they're not meeting your expectations, first of all, you got to check your expectations, because expectations are a one-way road to being disappointed.
Yeah, I think expectations are different than the needs that you need to get met.
Right. And then ask them, you know, you can have an open and honest conversation of like, this is the thing I kind of was expecting from where you're at right now in life, and it doesn't seem like you're even going that way. Like, tell me what's going on. So
I think, ow, fuck my hips, god damn. Oh, sorry, I'm turning into old lady people. So I think that's kind of where I was feeling lonely, is like, I've been really struggling inside, but it's I've been struggling in luxury and a luxury of time. And so I think it was really powerful and motivating for me to see your loneliness, and because it gave me a reason to start moving more, or to start like, you know, physically showing up for you more.
So yes, loneliness in relationships. It's one of those things, and it does not mean that your relationship is bad or that it's on the rocks or it's, totally off course, because it's a kind of a natural thing that happens every once in a while, because we're all individuals here trying to do our best, and we can forget that we do better when we're in communion with each other.
And I can only imagine how hard it is to stay connected and to not feel lonely when you have kids.
Yes.
Like, I bet people with kids feel hella lonely in their relationship. Sorry, not to rub it in people, but
no,
I mean, see you. Like, goddamn,
you
I see you.
Very clear priority set that a lot of the times takes most of your focus.
Yeah, I mean, because
both people,
our loneliness and disconnection was from just we're living life quickly. Like we moved twice last year. Like, I had all kinds of new stuff going on with my business. You started a new job. Like, I think when we really just start living life super quickly, it can be easy to start feeling lonely.
Yeah, it's a part of that thing in relationship where getting routines and getting stability, that's usually always a good thing, because then that gives you time to really move forward with other things, gets your basic needs met, all that kind of stuff. But when everything is just a routine, then you have to remember to add some chaos in there to spice it up.
Yeah,
shake it up.
Some vulnerability.
I mean, that's the whole idea why people are like, you need to have a date night. And it's like, yeah, you do need to have that time where you set everything aside and all you do is just the two of you focus on each other and like find out what the fuck's going on.
Yeah. And like, let it be awkward at first, or let it be like kind of cringy, or let it be like, I don't know what to say to you now. Like, that's okay. It's one of my favorite quotes by David White. He's like, and that those times when it could be your partner, but it can be literally anybody, when there's two people and you're like, I don't know exactly like how to start this, or I don't know what to say. He's like, that's when you know you're about to have a real conversation.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that's so good. So like, and he also says, well, actually, it's a Zen koan, I think, that says, intimacy is not knowing. So when you can enter that space of not knowing what to do next or what comes next, suddenly you are very intimate with the present moment and what, and like what might want to be said next, what your heart might want to say next.
Yes.
So I'd like to make this a little more practical for people too. And I also want to say one more thing. So,
throw some practicality in.
Yeah. So I'm willing to bet there's a lot of people out there who feel lonely in their relationship. And I wanted to say that it can feel especially lonely when you're in a relationship, because when you're in a relationship, like, you've committed to that person, or in a monogamous relationship, like, you've committed to them, like, they're your person. You're not going to like get that loneliness need met romantically, like outside of the partnership. But if you're feeling lonely in the partnership and you're feeling like your person isn't even like connected to you, and you can't really like go out of the relationship without like blowing it up, like, what did those people do? Like, that's what I mean, like the practical.
You sit on your hands, do nothing. That was me when I first moved down here.
Oh yeah, when I was still living in Oregon. Yeah.
You sit on your hands and behave.
Well, but I mean, like, if it's been going on for a while, like, I mean, I would just say it's the thing that you really don't want to do, but like, tell your partner how you're feeling.
Yes. Vulnerability.
Tell your partner that you're feeling lonely. Tell your partner like how loneliness feels in your body. Especially if you're a feminine creature talking to a masculine creature, telling him like the impact that it's having on you in your body and like how it physically feels. Like, they understand that language.
Yes, we do.
Yeah. Yeah, because like when you're saying, I'm feeling this and I'm feeling this and I'm feeling like this, the masculine's like, okay, that's great. But like, as soon as you say, and it feels like, the sinking feeling in my body, and it's like heavy, it's like, oh, You know, it's like, then they're like, oh, it's like that. Oh, got it. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really true.
Yeah.
And the opposite way, because this goes from both sides, men and women. Like men, when you can surrender to letting out those emotions and sharing that vulnerably with your partner, that turns on that sexual magnetism between the two of you.
Yes. It does.
It will bring that feminine creature closer to you.
That's
because
the intimacy that she's been waiting for. The very thing that you think you're not supposed to talk about. Like,
yeah, intimacy doesn't have to always be sexy times.
No.
Intimacy can be this is the thing I'm struggling with right now. These are the emotions that I don't know how to sort out. These are the thoughts in my head that I don't think are good thoughts, but I need to share them with you because I need to get this out of my head.
And this is where parts work really comes in handy, because you don't have to say like, this is what I think, and this is like, you can say a part of me thinks this. And like, I think underneath that part is this part that's feeling really lonely. Like, you can just explain it in a way that makes fucking sense. That doesn't make like this part of you thinking this like bad, in air quotes, thing, all of you. It can just be a part. It can be a part of you.
All right.
So it's not so threatening.
Any other last little bits of practicality?
I don't think so.
Well, that's about a podcast.
That's a proper podcast.
That's a proper podcast.
Yeah.
Good old start to season 4. All right. Well, if this has triggered anything in you to say, you know what, I am lonely, I'm going to go have a vulnerable conversation, then we're proud of you.
Yeah, we are so proud of you. Go fucking do it. Go be cringy. Go be awkward. Like, I swear to God, a better life is on the other side of that.
Yeah. Vulnerability always leads to closer connection. Closer connection brings you, the both of you, forward in time.
Okay. Well, here's one thing I want to say about that.
All right.
Because it really depends on the type of partner that you're with. Because if you are with a partner that will use your vulnerability against you, or that will criticize you for it, like vulnerability always brings you closer when your partner has the capacity for that.
This is true. And this is a much bigger subject for another podcast.
Yeah.
But
so
still,
like, I would say give your partner the benefit of the doubt, because a little bit of vulnerability can crack. Like, it's the soft things that crack the hardest fucking stone shells. So yeah. But I like, you owe it to yourself to be vulnerable about how lonely you feel. Yeah. That's what I'd want to say about that.
All right. That's where we're going to leave it.
Okay,
everybody. Well, go forth, be vulnerable, connect with each other, and leave loneliness in the past.
That's right.
All right, Jordin James.
All right. Okay. Sorry, last one thing.
All right, one last thing, everybody.
Okay, so I just want to say, like, go try being vulnerable, and if your vulnerability is consistently, like, I would say, give yourself a good fucking few months of showing up more vulnerably in your relationship, if you're feeling lonely. And if your vulnerability is consistently like criticized, or if it's used against you, or if your partner consistently withdraws from you, like, that might be a sign that's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be lonely in this relationship if like things don't significantly change.
And that could be a very vulnerable conversation right there.
Yes. Yeah. So it's like, you won't really know. Like, I feel like people just, like, when they're feeling lonely in a relationship, they just jump ship before they actually show up more vulnerably.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. And so, like, try to show up more vulnerably, and then let the chips fall where they may, because your vulnerability will make it really clear whether this is a relationship that you can feel belonging in. And I think a lot of people might be surprised, when they start showing up more vulnerably.
Oh yeah.
The belonging that they're met with. But if they consistently just feel more and more lonely, the more vulnerable they show up, that can be a sign that there's something bigger happening in the relationship.
Well, you need to get them listening to the Heart is Muscle podcast, because that'll break all that shit wide open. Everything will be solved.
That's right.
All of your problems are solved with the Heart is a Muscle podcast. Let's be very clear right now.
Let's be really clear.
Yes, this is all
okay. Now I feel complete.
Jordin feels complete. But yeah,
I'll be popping on in the middle of the night like, wait guys, one last thing.
We'll edit it at the end here. Yeah, you have to give each other the benefit of the doubt, because you're both humans. You're both trying your best, even if it doesn't seem like it. So yeah, be good to each other out there. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna keep each other. We're gonna keep being good to each other.
Okay, everybody, we're shutting this one down. Season 4 is off like no one else.
That's right.
All right.
Off like no one else. Like Let's go.
Let's go. Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for enjoying this episode of the Heart is a Muscle podcast. We really enjoy creating this content for you, and we want to share some more resources so you can get even more content. So take it away, Jordin.
That's right. If you want to follow either one of us on socials, if you want to work with either one of us, if you want access to our YouTube channel, if you want to buy our book, links to all that stuff is on our Patreon. So that is patreon.com/theheartisamuscle. Now you don't have to join Patreon to get access to those links.
But you probably should. The more that you support us and support this channel, the more that we can create this awesome content to help support you, because that's really why we do this. We want to make your guys' lives better, and your support really matters.
Yeah. And what you'll get when you join Patreon is a shout out in our next episode. And you will also get access to listener requests, where you will get to request what you want us to talk about in future episodes.
So from the Heart is a Muscle podcast to you guys, thank you so much for all the support, all the feedback. We really, really enjoy it. And we'll talk to you all later.
Truly love you guys so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.